No one expected that a weekend meant to be a simple bachelorette trip would end with shattered relationships. She left with promises of fun and innocent jokes, while he stayed behind with plans for the future, certain their happiness was unbreakable. A couple of days. Was that really enough to turn love to ashes? To trade years of devotion for a moment of madness? In that very moment, a single call could change everything. Words that would haunt him, no matter what he did. A mistake that could never be undone. But what if betrayal isn't the end, but the beginning of something greater? Something he was too blind to see before. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as every like truly inspires me. Please tell me which city and country you watch this video from. Now, let's get started. The moment Viviana said yes to my proposal, I felt unstoppable. After spending 3 years by her side, I had no doubt she was the one I wanted to build a life with. In my eyes, what we had was perfect. Everything between us seemed to fall effortlessly into place. Her chuckles at my awful jokes, the familiar way her fingers curled into mine during walks, the peace of simply existing in the same space. Life without her felt impossible to imagine. We jumped into wedding planning almost immediately. Viviana took charge of most of it, and I didn't mind at all. As long as she was going to be my wife, nothing else really mattered. One night, while we were sorting through the guest list, she casually mentioned her bachelorette trip. "Rebecca and the girls are thinking about Vegas," she said, eyes lit up with excitement. "Vegas?" I gave her a curious look. "It's just going to be a fun, chill weekend," she reassured me with a smile. "Nothing crazy." I laughed. "All right, just don't blow the honeymoon budget at the blackjack tables." She grinned, leaned in, and kissed me. "Relax, I'll be on my best behavior." And I believed her. The morning she left, I helped her get her suitcase together. We joked like we always did, slipping into that easy rhythm we had. Everything felt completely normal. "You sure you don't want to crash the party?" she teased with a sideways glance. "Tempting," I said, smirking, "but I trust you. Besides, I've got my own night out planned." She playfully punched my arm. "Just make sure you behave." "I'll survive until Monday," I replied. That Friday morning, I drove her to the airport and kissed her goodbye at the terminal, watching her disappear into the security line. What I didn't realize then was that it would be the last time I looked at her without feeling the weight of betrayal. That first night she was gone, I didn't think twice about it. I texted her good night, and she sent back a quick reply. "Night, love. Miss you already." That evening, I had my bachelor hangout. Nothing wild, just a relaxed night at Alistair's place with a few close friends. I was never into the whole last night of freedom cliché. We grabbed some pizza, cracked open a few beers, and swapped old stories. It was low-key, just the way I wanted it. When the night ended, I felt content, ready, excited for what was coming next. I figured Viviana was having fun too, and I was genuinely happy for her. But as the weekend wore on, her messages started coming in slower, shorter. She stopped answering calls, and when she did text back, it was hours later, always saying she was busy. I tried to brush it off. She was in Vegas after all. Maybe she just didn't want to be glued to her phone. Still, something didn't sit right. A quiet unease crept in. Late Sunday night, my phone buzzed. It was Rebecca. Her voice was low and trembling. "Declan, I need to tell you something." "Rebecca? Is everything okay? What's going on with Viviana?" She hesitated. "Not really. Something happened. I didn't know how to keep this from you. Viviana cheated." The words struck like a hammer to my chest. "What? No, that's not possible." "I saw it happen," she said softly. "She met a couple of guys at a club. They were drinking, dancing. Things got out of hand. I tried to pull her away, but she wouldn't listen. I couldn't speak. My thoughts spun in circles, unable to make sense of what I'd just heard. "I'm really sorry," she said, barely audible. "But I thought you deserved the truth." I ended the call silently, my hands shaking. My brain raced through the weekend's events, rewinding every message, every silence, every excuse. It all made sense now. She hadn't just been caught up in the fun, she had crossed a line. With not one, but two strangers. The following morning, I couldn't keep it bottled up anymore. I called her. After a few rings, she picked up, her voice groggy. "Hey, Declan, what's going on? It's early." "We need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "About what?" she asked, still half asleep. "Rebecca called me." Silence. "She told me what happened." A pause followed, long, suffocating. Then I asked, "Viviana, did you sleep with them?" Her answer came out in a whisper. "Yes." That single word shattered me. "I was drunk. I didn't mean for it to happen," she said, her voice cracking. "Didn't mean for it to happen?" My voice rose. "You're about to marry me, and you chose to sleep with two complete strangers. That wasn't an accident. It was a decision." She broke down. "I'm sorry, Declan. I love you. I never wanted to hurt you." I snapped. "Then why did you? How do you claim to love someone and still do this to them?" "I know," she cried. "I hate myself for it. I'll do anything to fix this." "You can't fix it," I said, each word sharp and final. "There's no coming back from this." "The wedding, are you calling it off?" "Yes." "You're really ending our engagement over this?" she asked, her voice caught somewhere between shock and pleading. "I told you already, I was drunk. It didn't mean anything." "You had a threesome, Viviana," I said, my voice cracking as it rose. "Two men, at the same time. And you want me to believe that was meaningless?" "I'm sorry, Declan," she said, her voice quivering. "It was the night before I got married. I wanted to do something reckless. It wasn't about feelings. I'm in love with you." "So now it was on purpose?" I fired back. "Because earlier you said it was just a drunken mistake." She steadied her voice. "Yes, I'm not going to lie anymore. I chose to do it. It was impulsive and wild and stupid. But it wasn't about anyone but me. It didn't change the way I feel about you. I didn't think you'd ever know." "So what? You were just going to keep this secret forever?" I said, throat tight with rage. "If I hadn't found out, you would have married me without a second thought?" "I never wanted this to hurt you," she whispered. "Well, too bad," I said coldly. "We're done. The wedding's off. And I don't ever want to see you at my place again." Before she could say another word, I hung up. The silence that followed hit harder than her voice ever could. Almost immediately, my phone started buzzing, her name lighting up the screen again and again. I stared at it, pulse pounding. But I couldn't answer. I wouldn't. I couldn't sit through another hollow apology. A few days later, she came back from Vegas and let herself into the house. I was already there, sitting on the couch, lost in a fog of thoughts. "Declan," she said softly, setting her bags down. "Can we please talk?" "What are you doing here?" I asked, voice like ice. "I told you not to come back." She lowered herself onto the edge of the couch, hands clenched tightly together. "I'm sorry," she said, barely above a whisper. "I don't even understand how I let it happen. I love you more than anything, and I want to fix this." "Fix it?" I repeated, the word echoing in my chest. "You think this can be repaired? You wrecked everything we built." "I'll do whatever it takes," she said urgently. "Therapy, counseling, whatever you need. Just don't give up on us." I looked at her without flinching. There's nothing left to fight for. The trust is gone, and without that, there's nothing. Tears started to stream down her face. I said nothing. I felt absolutely nothing. "Pack your things," I said flatly. "You can't stay here." She didn't protest. Without a word, she climbed the stairs, gathered her belongings, and left. I stayed right where I was, staring at the empty space beside me where she used to be. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was suffocating, like the very air had turned against me. Then came the next brutal task, calling everyone, the guests, my family, our friends. I had to explain that the wedding wasn't happening anymore, that it was over. Each conversation drained a little more out of me. Every time I repeated the story, it felt like reopening the same wound. Most people didn't know what to say. Some were stunned silent, but nobody asked why I ended it. They got it, even if it didn't all make sense. The conversations blended into one long, weary blur of sympathy and disbelief. Later that night, my phone lit up again. This time, it was Rebecca. "Hey, Declan," she said gently when I answered. "I just wanted to see how you're holding up." I sank back into the couch, eyes unfocused. "Not great," I admitted. "It's been rough." "Yeah, I figured," she said softly. "If you need to talk, get out of the house, clear your head. I'm here." "I don't know," I said. "I'm not really up for anything right now." "We don't have to do anything big," she offered. "Just a drink, a little company. Might help, you know?" I hesitated. The room felt like it was caving in around me. "Yeah," I said at last. "That might not be the worst idea." "Okay," she said warmly. "I'll send you where to meet." That evening, I met her at a small, quiet bar just a few blocks away. The place was calm, the soft murmur of conversation and the occasional clink of glasses filling the space. I chose a corner seat, and she joined me not long after. She scanned the room briefly before giving me a kind, knowing smile. "Hey," she said, her voice low and comforting. "You doing okay?" I gave a half shrug, unsure how to respond. "I'm still trying to process everything. I don't even know what to feel." She nodded slowly, sipping her drink. "I get it. You've been through hell." "It hit me out of nowhere," I said. "I thought I knew who she was. We were days away from forever. And now, it's just gone." Her expression softened. "You didn't deserve any of this, Declan," she said quietly. "She didn't see what she had in you. You deserve someone who sees you, someone who truly gets who you are and treats you like you matter." I turned toward her, caught off guard. There was a fire in her eyes, something new, or maybe something I'd never allowed myself to notice before. "Thanks, Rebecca," I murmured, my voice dropping without intention. "That really means a lot coming from you." Her smile was soft, but something about it lingered. Her gaze held mine a moment too long, and now I couldn't miss that flicker of playfulness behind her eyes. She leaned in ever so slightly, her knuckles brushing against mine, and it sent a quiet shiver through me. "You're a good man, Declan," she said, her voice lower now, more vulnerable. "You deserve better than what Viviana ever gave you." My throat tightened, my heart beginning to pound. Maybe it was the drinks, maybe the sting of the breakup still raw, or maybe it was something entirely different. But the air between us felt changed. Her hand reached for mine, fingers curling lightly around my wrist, grounding me. "You don't have to go through this alone," she added. "I'm not going anywhere." Her touch sparked something deep in me. I glanced at her, trying to understand the shift I felt in her voice, her eyes. Rebecca had always been my steady ground, my safe place, but now something between us had turned. "I've felt something for you for a while," she whispered, unsure yet resolute. "But you were with Viviana. I didn't want to be the reason anything fell apart." Now that Viviana and I were done, she said, it felt like she could finally speak the truth. Her thumb brushed softly across the back of my hand, a gesture so small, yet impossibly intimate. "I've always cared about you, not just as a friend," she said, her words hanging between us, fragile but honest. My chest felt tight, my pulse unsteady. Her confession knocked me off balance, but in a strange way, everything made more sense now. "All this time, you really liked me?" I asked, my voice thick with disbelief. She nodded slowly, her gaze locked on mine with a quiet intensity. "I did, but you seemed happy with her, and I didn't want to get in the way, so I kept it all to myself." I sat there in silence, trying to absorb what she had just shared. Then she shifted closer. Her eyes searched mine, asking a question without words, and then she kissed me. It began softly, hesitantly. Her lips were tentative, testing the waters, but it deepened fast, emotion surging between us. My heart raced, the world around us fading as everything else disappeared. The hurt, the mess, it all fell away. One moment blurred into the next, and by night's end, we were wrapped in each other, tangled up in her bed. It wasn't just about the heat between us. It was healing, in a way. Being close to someone who saw me, who understood the wreckage I'd been navigating, made it easier to breathe. Rebecca didn't just distract me from the pain, she helped me step outside of it, even if only for a little while. In the weeks that followed, what we had began to take shape. It hadn't been planned, but it felt natural, like it was meant to be there. We spent more and more time together, and each moment with her felt like a slow, steady return to life. It wasn't about replacing Viviana. It was never about that. This was something new, something genuine. I was drawn to Rebecca in a way I hadn't expected, like gravity I hadn't realized was there. One quiet afternoon, Rebecca was curled up on the couch with a novel, her legs tucked under her. I was in the kitchen brewing coffee. The stillness between us was peaceful, grounding. But just as I reached for the kettle, a knock echoed from the front door. I paused, thrown off. When I opened it, I froze. Viviana stood there, eyes rimmed red, her expression a picture of regret and unraveling. "Declan, please," she said, voice shaky. "Can we talk? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." She looked broken in a way I'd never seen before. "I know I messed up, but please just give me a chance to explain." I stood there, unsure how to respond. I hadn't expected to see her again, especially not like this. But before I could gather my thoughts, I noticed Rebecca standing from the couch behind me. Her expression unreadable, her silence loud. Viviana's gaze followed mine and landed on Rebecca. Her face twisted. "You're with her?" she asked, disbelief sharp in her voice. I tried to stay composed, but she stepped forward, her words aimed at Rebecca like knives. "You really think you can just take my place?" Rebecca didn't flinch. "I'm not here to replace anyone," she replied steadily. "I'm here because I care about Declan, something you stopped doing a long time ago." Viviana's face flushed with fury. She turned back to me, her voice cracking with desperation. "You can't be serious about this," she pleaded. "After everything we went through, you're just going to throw it away?" "I love you, Declan. I know I screwed up, but I want to make it right. Let me fix this. Please." My mind was spinning. Some piece of me still remembered what it had felt like to love her, but it was buried beneath betrayal and pain, and standing behind me was Rebecca, the person who had stood by me through it all. "It's over, Viviana," I said, my voice steady and sure. "You made your choice, and now I've made mine." Her face crumpled, disbelief and anguish crashing over her. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely there. "Don't do this. Don't let her destroy what we had." I looked her dead in the eye, my voice turning cold. "You destroyed it, Viviana." And with that, everything finally settled into place. "That's enough. You have to leave now." Her eyes shimmered with tears, but she stayed silent. Without a reply, she turned her back to me and walked away, the door shutting behind her with a final, echoing thud. In the weeks that came after, a new kind of normal began to take shape. Viviana was no longer in my life, and it felt like the end of a long, unfinished story. At the same time, Rebecca and I grew closer, united by the same longing to break free from everything we'd once known. We decided to move, to start over in a place that held no memories, no history. Somewhere anonymous, somewhere clean. It was a risk, but it felt right. We were finally ready to create a life that belonged only to us. I never reached out to Viviana again. I ignored her calls, left her messages unread. Slowly, the bitterness I'd held onto began to dissolve, replaced by a kind of peace I hadn't experienced in a long time. Rebecca and I stepped forward into something new, something that held promise, maybe even happiness. My past would always walk with me, a quiet echo in the background. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid to leave it behind and see what lay ahead. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.